Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Bethany Webster, and I'm so excited to welcome you today to this webinar on the mother wound. Big thanks to all of you who are coming here today, who are live, and those of you listening to the replay. It's such a powerful time for us to gather and talk about the mother wound. As Mother's Day is approaching, and we're living through this incredible time on our planet right now. So much is happening. We're seeing patriarchy kind of crumble all around us. We're seeing transformation all over the place. So it's such a great time to be here. So thank you for being here today. We have over 600 people attending this webinar today. So great to be here. I haven't done a live webinar in quite a while. So I've been so excited about inviting you to join me. I've got so much to share with you today, a lot of information that's sure to spark insights for you, inspiration. So I'm very excited to share all of this with you today. I want to just check in and make sure that everybody can see me. And yes, we've got a bunch of you here live. This is awesome. Now, I want to let you know that I'm going to have some time for Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions at all during the course of my talk, please make note of those. You can put them in the chat box. And when we have some time at the end, I'll be sure to get there. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to cover today. Today we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about Mother's Day, a time when so many of us have complicated feelings about our relationships with our mothers. For those of us who are mothers ourselves, have complicated feelings about motherhood in general. So it's a really powerful time. So we're going to talk about the Mother's Day, which is actually coming up on Sunday here in the US. Then I'm going to go into what the mother wound is. I'll be talking about, what is the mother wound? How does it manifest in our lives? Why it's so crucial that we work on this and that we heal this. I'll also talk about the costs of not healing it, what a big cost it has on our lives. I'll also talk about the amazing things that happen when we heal the mother wound and what you have to look forward to as you do this deeper work. And then I have actually a couple surprises for you at the end of the webinar. I have 2 free gifts that I'm going to share with you. And you want to stick around until the end of the webinar because that's when I'll be telling you how to get them. There's a special URL where you can download them. And there are 2 tools that you can start working with right after the webinar to get started on this healing journey. So I really want you to get those. So stick around for that. And then I'll also be taking a couple minutes to tell you a little bit about my online course on healing the mother wound. And it's available at a special rate until May 17th for $200 off. And I know some of you are going to be ready to go deeper with me at the end of this webinar. So I'm going to share that information briefly at the end for those of you who are ready to jump in with me. And I'm really excited to invite you all to do that. Okay. All right, so I think that's it. Let's get started. Let's jump right into the content. And actually, I want to take a minute too before we do that and just invite you to take a deep breath. I want you to get as much as possible out of our time here together. So take a deep breath. Bring your awareness into your body. As you breathe out, release any tension, any stress that you may be carrying right now. Great. And I want to invite you to set an intention for our time together that whatever is your next step, on your own journey, that you are ready. You're ready for that. You're ready for your next step. Awesome. Great. And throughout our hour or so together today, I want to invite you to keep that sense of connection with yourself, with your body, with your breath. And I feel that, you'll get as much as possible out of this time together. The more you listen a little more deeper than usual to what your body's telling you, to what your emotions are telling you. You're sure to get lots of insights as you do that. All right, great. Thanks for joining me in that. All right, so let's dive in. So as you know, Mother's Day is approaching. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a really tough time for those of us who have complicated relationships with our mothers, who are mothers ourselves, who struggle. And I want to talk about why that is. There's a lot of reasons. In our culture, and this is true in most cultures in the Western world, that there's this cultural ideal that all mothers are, happy all the time, that they always do the right thing, that our mothers are superhuman, and that we should be grateful no matter what for what our mothers give us, right? So there's that cultural ideal that all daughters should be best friends with their mothers, that mothers and daughters should, share everything and have great relationships. And it's a very common thing we see. We see it in Hallmark cards. We see it in commercials. We see it in, on billboards or on advertisements. We see it everywhere around this time of year. This message that mothers are perfect, and that if you have a shitty relationship with your mother, then there's something wrong with you. And that's what it really comes down to, is around this time, we start to feel that tension between the cultural ideal of the mother-daughter relationship and what our actual experience is as adult daughters with our mothers. So it's that tension that creates a lot of shame for a lot of us who have had stressful relationships with our mothers, who don't get along with our mothers, some of us that don't even have contact with our mothers anymore. So all this time of year can stir up so many painful, challenging emotions for us to process as women and as adult daughters. And what usually happens is this shame that we feel, we usually turn it against ourselves. We usually feel like it becomes guilt. Why can't I make my relationship with my mother work? What's wrong with me? What am I not doing right? And there's a reason why this is happening, that we blame ourselves. And this is because in our culture, there's no place for us as daughters to put our true, authentic feelings about our mothers. Our culture tells us that to be a good daughter, you should only have positive feelings about your mother. And if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. So there's also this wider myth in our patriarchal culture that says that feelings are weak, especially negative, quote unquote, negative feelings like sadness, anger, disappointment, that we shouldn't express those feelings, that we shouldn't talk about them. And that's even more the case for our relationships with our mothers and our feelings towards our mothers that are anything less than gratitude and love, right? But the truth is that it's widespread that so many women have painful, complicated, and conflict-ridden relationships with our mothers. So I want to tell you all this to say that if you are one of those women who have stressful relationships with your mothers, if there's tension, if there's arguments, if there's a lack of understanding, if you're not in contact with your mother, I just want to tell you that your experience is valid. There's nothing wrong with you. Your feelings make sense. You're not alone. You're not the only one struggling with this. There are so many of us as women struggling with this and working through it. So I want to just right off the bat tell you that you're not alone, your feelings are valid. And actually, those feelings you have are an important signal. And I want you to really take this in today, that this is something that's not widely talked about. It's something that is still kind of taboo in our world. But the truth is that the stress that we have with our mothers, the painful dynamics that we may be experiencing, that often when we have that, it also impacts other areas of our lives. So it's not just located and limited with our mothers, right? The stress or the conflict. It actually also has roots that go out into other parts of our lives that can impact, how confident we are, how authentic we are, how comfortable we are setting boundaries and things like this. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you today about the mother wound. Often the feelings we have around this time of year, around the Mother's Day, are related to what I call the mother wound. And I want to define what the mother wound is. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I came to do this work, because I know some of you who are new to me and maybe new to my work may be wondering, hey, Bethany, how did you get to be doing this work? How did you get here? So I'm going to get into that in a minute, but I just want to define, and for some of you, this may be a review, what the mother wound is. So the mother wound is actually a very large wound. It's personal, and that has to do with our personal mothers. It's also cultural. There's a cultural mother wound that we're all witnessing, right? As patriarchy is really coming to a head, this world that we live in right now in many ways. It's also a spiritual wound having to do with how connected we feel with life itself. And it's also planetary. There's a planetary level to the mother wound. And that's as manifested in what we see happening with climate change, with, 1 million species are about to be extinct, about pollution, about, deforestation. These earth-based issues that we're dealing with are also part of the mother wound as well. So as you can see, it's a very large wound, but in effect, there's actually a good news side to that, which is that as each of us heal our personal part of the mother wound, we help the culture to move forward. We help humanity take a spiritual leap into our next step of evolution. And we also help to heal the earth as well as we do this work. So as you can see, this is a huge time in our world for us to be doing this work. And I want to just take a moment and just think about the fact how amazing this is, that each of us listening to this webinar, live or in the replay, we each represent a line of women going back into infinity, thousands and thousands of years. We are the ones that are here right now doing this work, this profound work. That's really all about the rising of the feminine in the world, feminine principles in both men and women. But right now, it's really about the healing of the feminine. And all of us are, have mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers who have come before us and who didn't have the fortitude or the skills to do this kind of work, this deep healing work, but we do, and we're here right now to do that work. So I really want to honor each and every one of you who is here with me right now, because I really see each of you as pioneers, that you're here, and the work that you do, if you step into it, you're helping to clear the way for women of the future, for generations of women to come, for in healing the relationship with the earth that right now is at a real crisis point. So you matter, your healing matters. And the starting point for all of the ripples of this work, spiritually, culturally, and planetarily, it really begins with you and your personal healing of the mother wound. So let's talk about the personal level. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. So the personal level of the mother wound it's like the mother wound is in us. All of us have it to some degree. Even those of us who have a very positive relationship with our mothers also have the mother wound to some degree. And for those of us who have had severe, abusive, traumatic relationships with our mothers, we have it as well. So the mother wound exists on a spectrum, and all of us fall somewhere on this spectrum. And the reason why is because on a cultural level, patriarchy is really the atmosphere that gives rise to the mother wound. And patriarchy for thousands of years has kind of damaged and distorted the mother-daughter relationship in humanity, because it's told us, right, that women are less than. To be a woman is to be inferior. And so there's this feeling of scarcity that so many of us experience. And it's so normalized that it's almost invisible. It's just kind of part of our default setting. So this feeling of scarcity is like, there's not enough room for me to be powerful or to be lovable, that I have to be lovable. And usually that comes down to being small, to making ourselves small and pleasing to others. So that's really part of the wound that we have. And so everyone's wounds are different though, right? And it really depends on the dynamics that you grew up with in your family. And on the more supportive end of the spectrum, a lot of mothers pass down these beliefs to their daughters of don't be too big, don't rock the boat, stay small, put other people's needs before yourself. And a lot of times, even in the best of situations, mothers pass this along as a way to keep their daughters safe. In a world that doesn't value women, in a world that still sees women as less than, mothers are trying to protect their daughters, from getting harmed in a patriarchy. And so that's like one end of the scale. And then on the other side of the scale, where there's more abuse or trauma, mothers have been so traumatized themselves that they, and in denial a lot of the time of their own pain, that they end up harming their daughters in many different ways. And on that end of the spectrum, it's more like emotional abuse, physical abuse also. These things happen between mothers and daughters, and it's not talked about. It's still very taboo. And so that's why it's so important, wherever we fall on this spectrum of the mother wound, that we become conscious of it. Because if we don't become conscious of it, we end up passing it along to the next generation, and it keeps us stuck. It keeps us stuck. So the mother wound on a personal level is an internalized set of limiting beliefs and patterns that cause us to unconsciously limit ourselves in our daily lives. So the mother wound is beliefs, things like I'm not good enough, feeling competitive with other women, having addictions or food issues with food and body. It can also show up as self-sabotage, limiting ourselves when we get close to a breakthrough and then stopping. The mother wound can also show up as, jealousy and competition with other women. In other ways, it can show up as just a sense of shame, a sense of guilt, not wanting to go for what we want, not feeling worthy, and just staying in a kind of stuck mode, that we should feel happy with what we have, that we don't deserve, or we're not worthy of having the life we deserve. So these are just a few of the ways that the mother wound shows up in our personal lives. And, many women have asked me, how have you gotten to do this work? And I've said that, as I've done the work, I've looked around and I see that women are misattributing things that are really mother wound issues, but really thinking that they're other stuff, like with business leaders thinking that it's, I just have to get another certification, or I just have to get this or that, or women saying, I just need to get a partner, the next partner, and then I'll be okay. And so there's a lot of ways that we can think that the problems that we're having in our lives are only related to the surface issues. But often, the mother wound is operating under the surface and we just don't realize it. So a metaphor that I like to use is that the mother wound is like the roots of a tree. And we, the branches are like the areas of our lives, like career, health, relationships with our bodies, all those areas of our lives are branches, and the mother wound is like the roots. And so no matter how much we work on all these areas of our lives and do all these surface level things, if we don't work on the root level, these problems just keep surfacing over and over and over again. And I'm sure many of you here on the webinar today can relate to that feeling of, you work on a problem, you work on an issue, but it keeps coming up over and over again. And that's a big sign that it's the mother wound operating under the surface. Now, the great news is that when we work on the mother wound, when we do the healing work, we get the support and the tools, the transformation doesn't just happen in one area. It actually starts to happen in all the areas of your life. So as we help the roots of the tree to become healthier and stronger through doing the work, the branches of our lives, all those areas of our lives, like career, health, parenting, etc., all those areas automatically become healthier, automatically shift to a higher level. And that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this work, because, when we do the deeper work, it's not just, helping one area. We get so much ROI, return on investment in this work. It really is transforming you at the deepest level. And that's the opportunity for transformation in this work, is that you're working at kind of a blueprint level on yourself, because the mother relationship and the mother wound, to whatever degree we have it, impacts our core sense of self. So this is really working at the center of the wheel. This is getting to the core of all of our challenges and replicating issues. We're really working at the core level. And I want to see all of you achieve your dreams, get the financial abundance you deserve. I want to see you getting the relationships that are truly fulfilling and joyful and exciting. I want to see you have an amazing relationship with your body and have more play and joy in your life. And all of these things are possible when we work at this root level, when we work on healing the mother wound. Now, here's probably a good time for me to tell you a little bit about my story. I got really excited there and kind of got off track a little bit. But let me tell you a little bit about my story. So my relationship with my mother was such that I was kind of her little therapist. From a very young age, my mom confided in me about her problems, her worries. I was her kind of confidant in her struggles with my father and their failing marriage. So I was really kind of a little counselor, a little mother to my own mother. And I felt really stressed out as a little girl. I didn't have, I was emotionally neglected myself. And I felt like my mother's, I was always there for her, and she didn't reciprocate. She was so kind of wounded herself that she wasn't capable of giving me any real support. So I grew up feeling like, I have to be a good girl. I have to take care of everyone. My dad was physically abusive with my brother, so I'd protect him and try to keep him safe. And, I'd call my dad at the bar because my mom was, wanting him to come home. I was involved in all this drama from such a young age. And so I really built this identity around being the good girl, being a high achiever, not having my own needs. I really put aside my own needs and squashed them, because it was the only way to feel in control and to feel safe. But underneath that mask of the good girl, I was suffering. I was suicidal when I was 11 years old. There was a lot of problems there. And when I was in high school, I rebelled a lot. I had a lot of relationships with guys, but I had a great group of friends, which was helpful. And then in college, I really was drifting, and I was really depressed. And I actually got pregnant, unintentionally, and I had an abortion. It was a real good wake-up call for me to get on track. And I said, wow, I got to really figure out what I'm doing with my life. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't give birth to someone else until I give birth to myself. So I got into meditation, into spirituality. I got into therapy at 19, whole hog. I jumped in and I was like, I'm going to figure this out. But even in those beginning years, I was really scared to look at my mother relationship. It just felt too much. It felt scary. I knew there was a lot of, painful feelings there, and I just didn't want to go there. But I noticed something interesting. As I was in therapy, I was avoiding the mother wound, but I saw that no matter what I worked on, whether it was my beliefs about my body, I had a lot of image and body issues in college, whether I was working on that, whether I was working on my career, whether I was working on my relationships, it always seemed to come back to the same place, which was the limiting beliefs and patterns that I absorbed from my mother, about myself, about life, about what was possible for me. And so that's when I clicked for me, and I saw, wow, this is underneath everything. It's time for me to look at this directly rather than indirectly through all these different areas. So I embarked on it. I got a lot of support and I was like, all right, I'm in. So as I worked on the mother wound with my therapist intensively for years, it was really challenging. It was extremely challenging, but I had great support and I could feel the forward movement. And then it came to a head when I actually had to go no contact with my mother. I wanted a good relationship with her and was approaching her about that and telling her how I've suffered, that I really want our dynamic to change, that it's been really painful for me. And she just wasn't ready to hear it. She wanted me to stay as her mother figure in a way. You know, she didn't want to let go of me in that role. And she was actually full of rage that I had the audacity to, want respect from her in the relationship. So long story short, it ended up, painfully that I had to get a restraining order against my mother. I had to apply to go to court and get a restraining order, which was horrible. It was like unbelievable. And there's so much more to that story, but just to tell you, it was really painful. And I was so lucky to get so much support that I really was present with my feelings. I really, embraced the feelings that came up. I didn't push them away. I got a lot of support and tools to work through that. And I came out the other side, years later and realized, wow, I am feeling so much more connected to my body, to my purpose, to people in my life, just and the earth itself. Like I feel like I belong in my body. So I was starting to have all these realizations and spiritual insights coming to me. And I noticed, I was like, wow, no one's talking about this. All the things I've been looking for through spirituality and self-help and personal development, they are coming to me not through those ways, but through the mother wound work that I had been doing. And I said, why isn't anyone talking about this? Like, this is so important. But I looked for books and I looked for, other people who were talking about it, couldn't find anything. And I realized, oh my God, I'm going to be the one that's going to have to kind of share my story and tell women how it's really possible to heal this wound, the amazing things that happen when we heal it, and, how it's actually crucial that we heal it, especially with what's happening in the world. So that's kind of my story. And as you can see, it's so crucial, that, we're at this time in history where we need women power. We need empowered women. We need women in office. We need women in every sector of society who feel empowered, who feel the capacity to say no to things. And this is what happens when we heal the mother wound. We become truly initiated, I believe, into the truth of who we are. So it's like this: as we heal the mother wound, we're healing from, we're dismantling all the messages from our society, from our family, and from our mothers, which often get deeply rooted into our makeup. That's why it's so insidious, this mother wound, because it's like woven from the mother relationship deep into our fabric of ourselves. But as we heal the mother wound, we dismantle them. We take them off. We say, this isn't me. This isn't who I am. And then as we do that, our authentic, real, true self can emerge and can, fulfill what we're here to do. Our genius, our ideas, our original thinking, our true love and compassion, our fierceness, our ability to say no to what doesn't work for us. All the things we had to do as little girls to survive. We were taught to distrust our bodies. We were taught to distrust our observations and what we saw. We were taught to distrust our own intuition and our own needs. Our whole relationship with ourselves in patriarchy has been pathologized. We've been shamed for having feelings, for having needs, for our truth, for our ideas. In a patriarchy, we are taught to pathologize ourselves and see ourselves as something wrong with us. And this gets reinforced from our own mothers because they've been victimized to some degree as well. So healing the mother wound is like moving all this junk off of us and clearing the way for our true, authentic, powerful self to come online and to show up and to embody that in so many ways. And so the world needs more women like us who are ready to do this work, who are ready to disrupt, the systems that aren't working, to speak truth to power, to transform our communities and our families and our organizations through speaking our truth, to being loyal to what we know is true, because this is what the world is needing. It's needing empowered women who are compassionate yet fierce and taking no shit, basically. So let me know in the chat. I know I just want to go back to you guys. I've been talking for a while. I just want to see, does this make sense? Is this resonating with you? Hit me in the chat. Let me know. I'd love to hear from you. So as you can see, this is the time, species are going extinct. The governments are crumbling, media, all these education, all these parts of our society are really crumbling right now. And this is, in some ways very disconcerting and very challenging, but also it's an opportunity. It's showing that this isn't working and we need to do things differently. And you are part of that. I really believe that each and every one of you on this webinar is here because you're meant to be part of this movement. You're meant to be not just a mask of an empowered woman. There's a lot of coaches and stuff, spiritual bypassing out there that will tell you, oh, you don't have to work on that. Love and light, and that's all you need to do. But the truth is, your issues, your mother wound is going to keep rising its head every single time. The work that you do is only going to have a superficial impact if you don't do this deeper work. This is the true, in-depth, long-term healing process that really creates lasting change. And I can tell you that because I've been there, I've walked it, and I've created a whole roadmap so that it's easy for you, so that you don't have to take 21 years in therapy like me to get there. So I'm going to tell you more about that later, about the online course. But I want to talk about something really important here. And when I've seen a bunch of you are in the chat, let me just go over there. Yes, Elsana says, yes, oh my God, love it. Signia says, love it. Another person, I can't read her name, it's not showing, but it says, the implications are really sinking in. Thank you for sharing your work. Awesome. Katie says, yes, so much so. I can relate to what you're saying. I didn't realize it's so much related to the mother wound. Awesome, Katie. Mara says, yes, this is so on point. Thank you for helping to manifest a new empowerment. Awesome, Mara. Betty says, yes, I can relate to all this, struggling with this and don't know how to move forward. Thank you for offering this and giving us your experience. Awesome, Betty. Elizabeth says, empowerment starts at home in our hearts. Absolutely. And from the Ukraine, someone says, yes, thank you. Fabulous women. I love seeing hearing your voices right now, and that this is resonating. So thank you for chatting. Oh my God, it's so great to connect with you all. Now I'm going to go back to my content right now. I'm going to talk about the high cost of not healing the mother wound. And I think you can probably feel it right now based on what I just said. So if we don't heal the mother wound, and like I said earlier, we've had mothers, grandmothers, great grandmothers, women, a line of women behind us. So many women, who didn't have the fortitude or the capacity or the tools to do this work. And what ends up happening is what we're seeing today in our world is a total, result of women being suppressed and not having their voice. So, generations of women's genius and ideas and their empowerment, their way of living, their original thinking lost to the world. And we're seeing how upside down the world is without powerful women speaking their voices, creating their organizations, their communities, having women at the wheel. And we need women at the wheel right now, more than ever. So if we don't, I don't think the stakes could be higher. We're talking about extinction. We're talking about the earth really in peril and putting ourselves in peril. So, ultimately we want to go to a balance of masculine and feminine in the world, but first we need to heal the feminine. And of course, men have the mother wound as well, but I think it's really primarily the women. As we do this work, we automatically step into our power. We automatically transform, the culture around us, the communities, and it's a ripple effect. and it goes out and out and out. So all of you are leaders and pioneers on this webinar to do this work. And it's like incredible how important it is. So let me keep going. I want to just check and make sure I'm covering everything I wanted to tell you. Yes, great. Oh, I want to talk a little bit about some of the objections that I get sometimes when people talk about the mother wound. Sometimes women say, but I don't want to blame my mother. You know, if I do this work, I'm really afraid that I could actually, you know, be blaming her. And I've seen my mother suffer and I don't want to blame her. And I say to women that, you know, it's a thing that kept me back too, for a long time. And society, that's like that Mother's Day thing, right? That if you have anything except a positive feeling, then you're bad and you're harming your mother. Let me tell you right now that that is not the truth. This is not blaming your mother at all. In fact, this is using the relationship with our mothers as the enormous source of information that it is about ourselves, about how we came to be who we are, how we came to have the challenges that we do. You know, we can't move forward if we don't look back and see what it is that we came from and the causes and the deeper reasons for why we are struggling in certain ways. So the mother relationship, it's not blame, it's responsibility, because the truth is all of us have responsibility to live our best life and to inspire and support and contribute in this world. And we can't do that if we're in denial and if we're scared, you know, to look at what's in the mother wound for us to heal and to work through. So I like to say that healing the mother wound is the supreme expression of generational responsibility. And that means what we refuse to look at, we will pass on. Hands down. So whatever we refuse or too scared to look at, we're going to keep perpetuating it in our relationships with our spouses, in our relationships with our children, in our communities and organizations that we work in, and even towards our own bodies and towards ourselves. We'll keep harming, you know, repeating harm unconsciously. So that's why, you know, we need to get through this fear of blame. It's really not blame. It's really that generational responsibility and using that relationship as the source of information that it is to get us where we want to go and to be the best women we can be. Another one I hear a lot is someone will say, oh, let the past be in the past, you know, let the past be in the past. This is over and done with, and I don't want to look at it, you know. And unfortunately, that is not the truth. You know, in generations going back, people really believed that if we don't look at painful emotions, that if we don't look at it, then it will go away. And it's just not there, and it's under the rug, it's out of sight, out of mind. But I think we're realizing now that that's not the case. You know, whatever we don't want to look at, it's present in our everyday challenges and our everyday problems. The past is now. That's where the past shows up. It's like those repeating problems that I told you about earlier. When there's a repeating problem, it's because it wants to be worked through, and it's an opportunity to do that. And the mother wound is what gives us, the mother wound work is what gives us the insight to know what we're working on, what we're working towards, so that we can actually work through it for good. You know, so the past is now. And if we don't look at it, we keep repeating it. So that's why it's so important to do that. Another one I hear a lot is, my mother suffered so much, and, you know, my feelings don't matter. Like, I shouldn't look at my pain because my mother went through so much pain. I hear that a lot. And I want to just correct you there that, yes, it may be true that your mother suffered so much. She tried her best. And Mother's Day is a time when that can come up a lot. You know, this feeling of, my mother, you know, she's difficult, but, you know, she tried her best. And yes, that may be true, of course. And your feelings matter too. So people used to, you know, can say, my mother suffered so much, I should not look at my feelings. And what I say to women is, yes, your mother suffered so much, she tried her best, and your feelings matter too. So it's about a both and. It's no longer about suppressing ourselves as some kind of false solidarity with our mothers when we don't work through the mother wound. And you don't even have to talk to your mother about the mother wound. Like, it's not actually about the relationship per se. It's not about making that relationship better per se. It's about how you feel about yourself that's at issue here. So yes, you have to bring it into both. Your mother suffered, she tried her best, and your feelings matter. And so it's not an either or, it's a both and. And I really believe that both and is such a powerful shift. You know, as women, we've put ourselves down for so long, put other people before us, and it's time for us to see ourselves as an equal value and worth, and in putting our feelings at the top and prioritizing our comfort rather than the comfort of others. Because what tends to happen is if we prioritize other people's pain, is that we actually enable their pain and they stay stuck. Right? It's actually more motivating to people when we do our own work, when we do our own healing, when we focus on our own well-being. It might make other people uncomfortable, you know, it might trigger them very much, but that's ultimately for their good as well. Does that make sense? So it's like, yes, we trigger other people. You know, women around the world are becoming more empowered every day. It's triggering people, especially people of older generations, especially people who have been very used to you not having such high worth, you know, being silent or small or accommodating. And now it's like we have to rise and prioritize ourselves and our healing, even if other people are getting wobbly, you know, and having their own triggers and their own stuff come up. We have to learn to stay with ourselves through that and not abandon ourselves because other people, including our mothers, are super triggered and are really having a hard time. So we need to, you know, stay with ourselves. You know, as little girls, we were taught to abandon ourselves in many ways, you know, to abandon our feelings, to abandon our needs, to abandon the truth that we saw and that we knew for other people. And this is the world this is what happens when we do that. So now it's like, really got to prioritize ourselves, even when other people are super triggered. I know that's not easy. It's easy for me to say, but this is really the work that needs to be done because it is stimulating growth in these people. And it's not our responsibility to take it on, to lead or mentor or heal them, even our mothers especially. Our mother's journey is her own. Our mother's choices are their own, and that's their journey. And that's kind of part of this whole healing process is accepting that we can't heal our mothers. We can't make them happy. No matter how we try, and Lord knows so many of us out there have tried to explain to our mothers that we love them, to do everything we can for them, to accommodate their preferences, to put up with some of their behavior that's really painful. And still it hasn't made our mothers solve their problems, made them happy. So really, it's about taking our own responsibility for our own healing, our own life, our own love, and letting our mothers have their own journey. That's part of this, is having that kind of emotional distance enough to feel like a separate, unique being in relation to our mothers. You know, patriarchy kind of fosters this toxic enmeshment between mothers and daughters, where it seems that, you know, if I surpass my mother, I'm abandoning her. Or if I am, you know, I've heard women say to me, if I become financially successful, maybe I'm leaving my mother behind, you know, or I feel guilty being happy if my mother's sad, you know. So those are examples of this toxic enmeshment between mothers and daughters that goes through the generations. And what it does is it leaves both mother and daughter disempowered. If we stay locked in that generational pattern, we are, you know, oppressing ourselves really, through not, you know, having the courage to do that work and to separate and have our own experience from our mothers, let our mothers respectfully have their own experience. So that's part of the journey of healing. I want to go to the chat. I see a bunch of you just said some stuff to me. Elsana said, oh my God, yes. Eve said, yes, healing, self-love, and self-care. Hope said, I finally, after so long, realized I can't make my mother happy. It's up to her to do that for herself. Absolutely. Ani says, I can't agree more. It feels like I'm so grateful for this life, for this possibility, but give me some bloody rest to be able to actually live it. Oh my gosh, I totally hear you, Ani. That's all about reclaiming your life, claiming your own experience and living it the way you want to, the way you know you need to, and letting other people have their feelings about it. Nikki says both. Yes, both. And so true. Awesome. And someone says here, my mother died 8 years ago. The tensions with her are over, but I experienced the same tensions with my elder sister. How is this possible? Is this also connected to the mother wound? Absolutely. I just went to a question there. But yes, even when our mothers leave our lives, even if we go no contact, even when they pass away, the mother wound can still operate. It gets projected on our siblings, our parent, our coworkers or our bosses or our partners. So the mother wound lives in us. So even if our mothers are out of our lives, we still have, the patterning operating inside of us. So it's almost like a computer program. We were programmed through our families, through our culture, and that is running. So it will keep running too until we do something about it, until we do the deeper work around it. It will just keep running with other people, because what it is it's an attachment blueprint. It's an attachment blueprint with how we relate to our own bodies. It's how we relate to other people, how we relate to our potential, what's possible for us. And other women, especially. The mother wound is a total blueprint for how we interact with other women. Are women safe? Are women traumatic? And you hear some women say, oh, well, I don't have good relationships with women. I'm kind of more one of the guys. That's a symptom of the mother wound right there, big time. So that makes so much sense to me about your mother, that it actually, the same dynamics are happening with your sister. Totally. Especially the mother can set the tone for the sibling relationship. And, there's deep loyalty to our mothers. All children are loyal to their mothers. That's built into our makeup. So that's why the mother wound is so intense, is because we're loyal to these patterns that actually might be quite harmful. So I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of healing the mother wound as we go. I'm just keeping an eye on the time, and this has been so much fun. I'm having so much fun with all of you today, sharing this information and seeing how deeply it's resonating with you all. So some of the benefits of healing the mother wound, what can you look forward to as you're doing the work? Well, the mother wound does so many things, and I'm so excited to share with you what some of them are. One of them is learning to be really fluent with your emotions. So a lot of us, due to the patriarchal mandate, think our emotions are bad. We avoid our emotions. We don't want to look at them. But as we heal the mother wound, we really become super fluent with our emotions. We start to see them as sources of information, as allies. We learn to trust our bodies. We learn to trust our observations. We feel deeply connected to our truth at all times. And we develop healthy boundaries. One of the biggest things I see with women doing this work is the ability to say no, and to say no to things that don't serve you, that drain you, that take advantage of you, to really prioritize yourself, and to let go of a whole host of things that have drained you, things you felt responsible for, that you've been over-functioning for, emotional caretaking of other people, things like that. This is all about reclaiming your power to say no, so that you feel a sense of self-ownership over your own life, over your power, over your energy. Another big thing here is being in constant contact with your goodness. A lot of us went through a lot of pain in our childhoods, and we developed this feeling of shame that there's something wrong with us. Here, through healing the mother wound, we begin to have contact with this deep sense of inner goodness, a sense of goodness that is not dependent on anything happening on the outside. So it's like, really feeling that goodness and knowing that it's yours, that it's who you really are, and that you're never separate from that. So that, and also not taking yourself too seriously, this feeling of, letting yourself make mistakes, letting yourself be playful, be creative without being judgmental on yourself or, feeling guilt about, taking time and space for yourself. So a more spacious relationship with yourself emerges. And also a fierceness. Some of the stuff that we do in Healing the Mother Wound is about getting in touch with how much you suffered as a little girl. That's one of the things we do is we get in touch with what really happened. So you get mental clarity on what you went through. Also, you get that support with feeling the emotions, that you need to feel around your history and what you went through. And those emotions involve anger. It's the total healthy outrage of what you went through and the legitimacy of the anger that you feel as you get in touch with the full scope and magnitude of what you went through as a little girl. And you do that with support and with tools that help you do that processing. Because what I've seen over and over again is that when women really get in touch with what really happened and you have the support to take that in, and how you suffered as a little girl, feeling compassion for that little girl inside of you, nurturing yourself, soothing yourself, validating your own perceptions, what happens is a miraculous thing where you start to feel a deep love for yourself. And there's a fierceness that develops that's just like, you know what? I'm really feels that boundaries of I'm not going to replicate that harm with myself, and I'm not going to be around people who disrespect me. So it's like a sword. This anger just cuts away the stuff that's been harming you or holding you back. So it's about getting in touch with, the truth of your feelings, feeling them, feeling validated through them. And as your coach in the course, I'm there to support you with some of these really challenging experiences of feeling the feelings, getting all the insights about what you went through. And then also from there, taking empowered steps in your life. So as you know, throughout our lives, life is always bringing us opportunities to make new choices that we haven't made in the past, choices that weren't okay and weren't available to us as little children. And so you start to see your life as this playground where you get to make new choices that honor you, that bring you forward. I like to say that, doing this work of healing the mother wound requires us to slow down a little bit, to slow down, to get in touch with ourselves. And it's a paradox that actually that's what moves us forward. We get through that slowing down process and connecting with that inner child and learning how to mother that little inner child, then it creates all this momentum forward in your life where you feel your relationships quality improve. You feel your sense of safety in your life, that sense of being empowered, confident, playful in your life expands. So it's really this amazing synthesis of doing the inner work and then watching your life transform. And I've seen this course and this work help women leave relationships that were not serving them, help women do parenthood differently, show up with their children differently than how they were before. I've seen women, start businesses from a place of empowerment and excitement and validating their worth and their work in the world. I've seen this course help women, transform their friendships and their relationships as well. Because what we're doing is we're upgrading our, beliefs. We're upgrading our operating system from what we inherited from our mothers into the operating system that's really our internal genius. Our destiny, our mission, our true self becomes available to us. And so as we do this deep inner work, all of our relationships, our outer world transforms. So there's a spiritual component to this as well, that we get to bring forward all that's within us that we have to offer, but not from a place of scarcity, not from a place of deprivation, but from a place of fullness, where we can really feel our fullness and we can really offer that work to everyone around us from a full place, not from a scarcity deprived place. I hope that makes sense. So I want to just tell you a little bit. I know that the time is moving along and I'm going to stay on longer for questions. So I have, I mentioned to you that I have a couple gifts for you and I want to share them with you. These are totally free tools that you can use right after our call to get started on this. And there's a URL. And what these are 2 downloads. They're worksheets that you can use to kind of have a journaling exercise to help get you some insight that are going to help you right away. So I'm going to give you the URL so that you can get that. So I'm going to type it. I'm going to type it right into the chat box, and then I'll also make sure that you all get it in the email as well. So it's, it's b-webster.com/2 free gifts. So the number 2, and then free gifts, all one word, lowercase. So I just put it in the chat. It's www.b-webster.com/2, the number 2, free gifts, all one word, lowercase. Go ahead over there, check it out after the webinar ends. I invite you to download those tools. One of them is called the Belief Inventory, which helps you look at what your mother's beliefs were that got passed down to you and where you're carrying your mother's beliefs that aren't true for you. That's a powerful one. The other one is called From Limiting Belief to Liberating Belief. And it's all about how do you transform something that you've inherited that's holding you back and to turn it into something that can move you forward, into a belief that really honors you and your truth and how to live that. So I want you to check those out. Enjoy that. I'm so excited to share those with you. And now I want to tell you a little bit about the online course. Now I know some of you are asking some questions in the chat about the online course. So let me tell you about that. So the online course is a beautifully designed 8-week course, and it has 8 modules, and it teaches the 7-step process that I teach. It's a roadmap on how to heal the mother wound and how to come out the other side. And what it does is it helps you get the emotional processing, the mental clarity, and the bodily integration that you need to truly move through the mother wound and emerge into your power. And there's many layers to that. Let me just tell you a little bit about what's in the course. So it has a dashboard when you sign in. You've got a beautiful dashboard. It's beautifully designed. Each tab is one of the modules. And there's also a section on resources that includes frequently asked questions, resources for moms, as well as how to find a good therapist if you're interested in doing that as well. There's a ton of other resources and tools in there along with the core curriculum. And the curriculum is taught in a video and a transcript, and there's writing exercises that go with each of the modules. And the exercises are designed to really bring you through the process. And I've been told that they're actually kind of magical because they really walk you through the process, bringing you new insights, new realizations, breakthroughs, and shifts. The content's kind of like seeds, like as you kind of digest it, it actually opens up all new, insights for you around the mother relationship, and it supports you in doing the emotional processing. So there's also, that's just the course, but it comes with lifetime support with me, and with a community. So once you come into this course, it's not like you do it and then you're gone. It's a lifetime. So I'm really there for you on a lifetime basis in the form of a very active, remarkably active global Facebook group. And if I go off Facebook at some time, I'll find another forum for it because it's so powerful. It's so important. And women have told me that the community support is huge, a huge piece of it, because it's so awesome to connect with women who are sharing similar stories and who are supporting you as well. I also offer 2 Q&A calls every single month. So we hop on the phone. It's always a small group. And so you get to ask me questions and you get to hear other women get ask their questions. So you get coached in real time with me twice a month. And again, lifetime access. So the course is something that you can, purchase now, and you can start anytime, and you can move at your own pace. And I find that that's really great for women who maybe want to take a break or maybe want to go back over something. So it's really flexible, and it's designed to be a lifetime resource for you that you can use as you use the tools. You learn a lot of skills, and then you practice them. And then I get to support you as you get really good at practicing these skills. One of these skills is all about inner mothering, learning how to mother yourself. And that takes practice, and it's part of my joy to really help women learn how to do this well. Because as we start to feel safe within ourselves, we start to be able to take those exciting steps forward, honoring ourselves, speaking truth, setting really good boundaries, demanding better quality relationships, and stepping into more exciting possibilities in our lives. So it's really great to have me there with you as practice, as you do move through the course. So the course is for you. If you've experienced pain and frustration with your mother, if you have a sense of fear of loss, if you step into your potential, if you feel stuck there, if you know that issues and beliefs originating with your mother are causing you to hold yourself back, and any sense of guilt or shame around, who you are, what you're here to do. And if you're ready to stop playing small and really step into your purpose and into upgrading, everything in your life, whether it's your career, your relationships, your parenting, your health, this really covers it all. As I said, when we work on this core issue, it impacts every area. And that's what's really so exciting about this work. So I wanted to share just one or two testimonials from women who have done this course and who have experienced life-changing results. Joanna wrote to me, she said, after 10 years of healing work, finding Bethany's course was the missing ingredient that made all the rest of the healing make sense. The course is so thoughtfully created. The insights are as if it is speaking right to your own soul. Before this course, I always turned away from inner child work because of how it was presented. Bethany's approach to inner child work is so profound, it will transform you. It's enabled me to put down some of my pain and make peace with things I had no idea how to make peace with or understand. The community of women you meet in the course is so extraordinary, it's worth joining the course just for that support and sisterhood. This course will heal so much more than just your mother wound. Once you start it, you'll wish you had found it earlier in your journey. That was Joanna. So as you can see, and I have a whole bunch of them here. I'm not going to read all of them, but a lot of women's lives have changed through doing this work. Olivia says, I have literally spent thousands and thousands of dollars on therapy, courses, books, workshops, goddess knows what. But this online course is miraculous, pioneering, magical, and compassionate, and has done for me what nothing else has gotten close to. And that's Olivia. And you can read more testimonials of women who have taken this course on my website at womboflight.com I think it's results. So womboflight.com/results. There's a ton of testimonials there where you can hear from women who've actually done the course and how it's impacted their lives. So the course is available until May 17th for $200 off the regular price, which is an incredible value for lifetime access. And you can get that at, let me put that in the thing. It's www.womboflight.com and /online course, all one word, lowercase. And that's where you can check out the online course, read about it, read the testimonials. And I invite you to join me. For those of you who have liked what you've heard today on this webinar and that you're ready to step into the next level with me, I invite you to join me, especially around this Mother's Day. And I use those two tools that I gave you to download and work with over Mother's Day. I think it's really important that, as Mother's Day comes up, that you focus on mothering yourself. So what are some ways that you can nourish yourself on Mother's Day? For those of you especially who are having a stressful relationship with your mother, asking yourself, what helps you to feel nurtured, cherished, supported, honored? In a new way, take a new step with your self-care and do something that really honors yourself, especially that little girl inside of you who is a living energy. So honoring that little girl, honoring your feelings about Mother's Day, and make sure that whatever choice you make with how to, work with her, whether you see your mother or whether you don't, that you really honor yourself. And it's really about bringing that two things together, right? Yes, my mother, tried her best or suffered a lot. and my feelings matter. So be sure, I invite you to take a new radical step this Mother's Day to honor yourself, to prioritize your well-being, and to whatever you do with your own mother, to do it from a place of self-respect and really honoring yourself, not putting yourself below in order to make her happy, not to feel that you have to wear that mask in order to be loved. So I really believe that Mother's Day is a powerful time for us to really honor ourselves. And that's why I'm so excited to welcome you into these new tools and to take the online course with me. So what I'm going to do now is just go over to the chat and just get some questions from you all. Let's see what kind of questions we have. Elsana asked, do we have any personal contact with you in the course? Yes. You have contact with me in the Facebook group. I'm in there every other day or so. I'm very active in that group. It's astonished some people actually how active I am in that group because I love supporting you all in the group. It's so great. And it's wonderful for me. It's a joy. So I'm in the Facebook group a lot, almost every day. And then I'm also 2 times a month. Every 2 weeks, you have a 1-hour call with me with a small group. And it's not just for a few weeks or something. It's like you can be doing this with me for years. That's how powerful this is. And I designed it that way because I want you to always feel like you have a place to come back to. Because as you know, this work is long-term, and there's many layers. And once in a while, we have people that have been with me years ago come back in and kind of share with us their celebrations, some of the new stuff that's been happening as they've been continuing to work the tools that they learned in the course. So I'm very high touch and high contact with you in the course. Let's see what other questions we have here. Okay, a question. She says, what to do if you blame your mother right now? How do we heal past that? Will your program help deal with that? This would have continued to come up in my life the past 15 years, despite healing so many areas of your life. Yes, absolutely. That's actually something I want you to bring into the course. If you have these feelings of blaming your mother, that's legitimate. When we were young children, we were innocent. Okay. When we were young, we were totally dependent and vulnerable on our mothers and our parents, our caregivers. So if we were harmed, if we were traumatized, abused, neglected to whatever degree, we have to work through the anger and the blame around that. That's legitimate. That happened to you. So I find that what I do in the course is I really give you the space and the validation and the support to work through those feelings. And as you process them and digest them and get support, it stops becoming something that continues to arise over and over again. Many women have told me that they've been to therapy for years and they've done all kinds of other work, but this course is the thing that's helped them move through it finally into a new era of their lives where they're not stuck on these issues with their mother, both directly with her and also just internally with problems that keep coming up. So absolutely, we would definitely work with you on that in the course. It addresses that and it encourages you to work through it emotionally and mentally, and to create a relationship with your inner child where you can really validate and soothe her and empathize with yourself, with what you've been through. And often that is the key, having permission to feel the anger, having the permission to feel the sadness and the grief about it. And then when you really have enough time, and it's different for everyone, how long it takes, but when you have enough time and enough support, you do move through it. And you don't have to spend years and years being stuck there. Sometimes I get emails from women who, in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who tell me, I wish I had this course, when I was younger, because I've been dealing with this for decades. And I don't want any of you to be stuck in this for decades, because you don't have to do that anymore. This work will move you through it, and quicker than what I went through, 21 years of therapy. But it was worth it because it got me to a whole new place in my life where I have an amazing partner, I have an amazing home, I have friends around the world, I have a deep relationship with myself. It's just like a whole new life, it's a whole new way of living that's deeply nourishing, deeply fulfilling. And it really is that upgrade to every area where you really feel the worth, that your true worth. So I hope that answers your question. Betty has a question. She says, I don't trust anyone, even my partner. If my own family and mother have hurt me, I feel everyone will. Yes, lots of anger and hurt. How do I get past that to heal? Betty, I hear you. I totally hear you. Your lack of trust makes total sense. Your lack of trust makes sense given what you've been through, right? I think a lot of times we have these feelings, but we blame ourselves and we think, why can't I get over it? What's wrong with me? Why am I stuck? And the truth is that you just need to, spend some time validating your lack of trust, that actually makes so much sense. You were harmed by your own family. You were harmed by your mother. And of course, you would be not trusting others, So it's a lot about really honoring and empathizing with where you're at right now, because the patterns you have, the feelings you have did not get created in a vacuum. They are not just something you need to get over. They're actually something that happened to you. You have those for a reason, and it's a very normal, natural reason. So Betty, it's about grieving what you went through, feeling the anger, allowing yourself to feel the anger, not taking it out on them, not necessarily, in the way our society views anger as a problem. My whole thing about anger is it's your ally. Anger is your ally on this journey. And it's about finding a constructive container and tools to work through that anger so that really anger transforms into self-worth. The frustration we feel, the anger we feel, the rage, that is deeply connected to our worth. And somewhere along the line, patriarchy made us feel bad about our anger because it served, right? It served the agenda of patriarchy, but our anger is our power. And I really encourage women in the course to really make use of our anger and to work with it, because if you can spend time in your anger in a constructive, healthy, nourishing way, you get real good access to your truth, to what's good for you, for what's not good for you, and to communicate that, to set good boundaries. And it comes from not a despair. It's not anger that comes from like, I want to hurt you. It's more like anger that comes from a place of deep love for yourself. It's an anger, a fierceness, I like to say. Like we get a tenderness, a deep tenderness towards ourselves, and a fierceness. Like, I am not going to allow anyone to harm the inner child within me. I'm not going to allow anyone to harm the amazing woman that I am. And you believe it with every cell. And so I'm trying to explain to you the link between mourning and grieving what you went through and feeling the anger about that, and how that creates a sense of deep worth, incredible worth, and a non-negotiable, where you're no longer willing to open yourself to things that harm you anymore. So it's so powerful and very exciting, Betty. So I just want to say, your anger and your hurt make total sense, and you get past it by working through it and honoring the truth of your experience. I hope that makes sense. Let's see, who else has some questions? Do you have a retreat? I'm not doing a retreat right now. I am finishing my book, which is coming out next Mother's Day, actually. I should have my book coming out. That's the general launch date. So I'm not doing any retreats at the moment. But if you pay attention to like my emails and newsletters, it should, if I do a retreat, you'll find out there. And I also have, I think, an events page on my website. So keep an eye out on that. And that's where it will be posted. And I'll be sure to announce it to my list as well. Sue has a question. She says, how many hours do we need to allocate for the course? And I would say, Sue, it really depends. It depends on many factors. Some people can do it, in a few hours a week. Some people take their time and spread it out, 1 hour a week for a long time. So it's really about, there's really no right answer to that. So I think it depends on the level of mother wound that you have, what's happening in your life. And you get to work the course at your own pace and put as much time in as you need. There's 8 modules. So sometimes you'll move through a module fast because it feels like, you've got through it. And then there'll be other modules that you'll want to take your time in. So you might spend a little more time in that module. So it really depends. That's really the answer, Sue, is it really depends on a lot of factors. And someone else asked about a refund policy. Yeah, the refund policy is you have a full refund after 2 weeks. So you can, for any reason, if you join the course and it doesn't feel like a fit, you can get a full refund within 2 weeks after purchase. Yes, absolutely. Okay, let me take one more question. What if I really wish my mom died? I really imagine her death. Diana, I hear you. I totally hear you. For those of us who have experienced severe emotional neglect and abuse, that is a very common thing that many women feel because of the depth of pain that they suffered with. And I think that, a lot of women talk about that in the course, that's a normal thing that can happen. And I think it really speaks to the suffering that you've been through. And it speaks to the inner child within you who's really seeking release and healing from that. So I would encourage you to do the course because you can get past that. That's a loop that some people get caught in of just feeling trapped. It means that a part of you still feels trapped by your mother. And the truth is that you're not, the truth is that you're not trapped with her anymore because you're an adult and you have resources and choices that you didn't have when you were a child. So it's the process of healing is all about helping that inner child, that living energy that lives inside of you who still may feel trapped. And she still may be creating these same issues over and over again and helping her to, as the inner mother part of you, helping her to let go of the past and see that she really is safe now. And to transfer that sense of attachment from your mother, feeling trapped with her or abused by her, and transfer that sense of attachment to you, the inner mother, the new mother, who can give her that love and safety and nourishment that she deserves and always has. So that's part of the journey that helps you get past that loop. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, well, I'm just looking at, I have to go. It's been an amazing hour and 15 minutes that we've shared together. I know some of you had some questions and I couldn't get to them, but please do. I invite you to jump into the course. If you're feeling that call, I would love to be your support, be your guide and your coach as you do this deep inner work. And I want to thank you so much for being here today, for sharing space with me. I've so enjoyed connecting with you, reading your questions and feeling your energy. And I'm so pumped to offer you, the free gifts there. Please do check those out and come into the course if you feel ready. And of course, there's my website that has a ton of free articles that you can check out. And my website is motherwound.com, www.motherwound.com. And again, that link for the online course is www.b-webster.com. I'm sorry, that's not it. That was for the tools. It's womboflight.com/online course. And I will send that to you also with a replay. Very cool. You're going to get a replay so you can watch this webinar again if you'd like to. And I'm also, as a bonus, offering you a free conversation that I had with Kate Northrup, who is an author, best-selling speaker. She's an amazing woman. Her mother is Chris Jane Northrup, author and speaker. We had a wonderful conversation about mother wound, motherhood, patriarchy, and also freeing ourselves from exhaustion and overwhelm, which is something that so many women struggle with these days. So you're going to get that replay today or tomorrow so that you can enjoy this replay again. And you can also watch that conversation too, especially for those of you who are moms. I think you'll get a lot out of it. And I'm not a mom, but I think you'll get a lot out of it too, even if you're not a mom. So look out for that on your inbox. And and if you have any questions at all about the course or anything at all, you can reach me and my team at support@motherwound.com. That's where you can ask us any questions you might have about the course. And so thank you again, everyone, for being with me here today. I so enjoyed sharing time and space with you, and have a wonderful Mother's Day. And remember to mother yourself, prioritize yourself. And if you do, to whatever way interact with your mother, do it from a place of deep self-love. prioritizing your own care, loving that little girl inside of you. And I promise, as you keep doing that, this is the work of healing the mother wound. So I invite those of you who are ready to come into the course with me. Thanks again, everyone, for being here today. I hope you enjoy the replay, and I'll see you all very soon. Lots of love to all of you. Bye for now.